Good afternoon, folks. I see we have 4 attendees here, so we will go ahead and get started. It's 1 o'clock. Just want to welcome you all today and thank and welcome Justin for being with us, Assistant City Clerk in Dexter here. So we are grateful to have him sharing information with us. And we will be recording this so people can access this from our YouTube channel if they were not able to make it. But I'm just going to turn it over to Justin. He'll kind of cover what we're talking about today. And I'm sure with the lower number that we have, we'll be able to answer some individual questions too. So thank you, Justin.
Oh, thank you. And just to clarify, I am the city clerk and the assistant to the city manager for Dexter.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Thank you.
That's all right. So, I manage the day-to-day election stuff along with getting everyone registered and managing the election inspectors that are at the polls on election day, helping folks cast their ballot. So I do have a few points that I would like to cover today with regard to elections. But usually with these sorts of meetings, folks tend to have kind of more personal questions about their own registration and about whether or not they're going to be receiving an absentee ballot. So I thought we might open it up to the audience to ask any questions that they might have about their own registration or their own absentee balloting.
So folks, we will go ahead, we'll unmute you if you want to raise your hand and I can call on anyone that has a question. We do have a Q&A going as well if you prefer typing your question. If I don't get any questions right off the bat, Justin, maybe, oh, here we have one. Okay, I don't know what resident this is because this is not a familiar computer name here, but I am unmuting this person. It says Rose, but I don't. And you are muted. You need to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Hi, this is actually Wilma Minning's daughter.
Oh, hi, Rosemary.
Hi, Natalie. Justin, I don't live in Michigan, but my mother has requested an absentee ballot. My question is, have they actually been mailed out yet? Because I have people trying to make sure that she gets an opportunity to fill out her ballot and return it.
Sure. So we're looking at mailing absentee ballots the week of September 21st.
Great. Thank you.
So they have not yet been mailed.
Okay.
How do you spell her last name?
Mynnning.
You said Wilma?
Correct.
Yep, so I have received an absentee ballot application form from her. So as soon as we mail out ballots, she should be receiving one.
Terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a question for someone that is clueless, since I am not an absentee voter, but has that deadline passed to request an absentee ballot?
It has not. So you are legally eligible to apply to receive an absentee ballot by mail up to the Friday prior to the election. You can still come in and get a absentee ballot in person the Saturday before the election and the Monday before the election.
Wow. Okay.
But if you come in that Monday, you do have to vote it here in the office. We aren't allowed to let you leave with the ballot. But if you come in Friday, I think the deadline is 4 p.m. We can still mail that ballot out to you that Friday. I wouldn't recommend that because we don't control the post office, and we obviously we recommend that everyone request their absentee ballot as soon as possible and not wait to the last minute. So if you do request it on the Friday before the election, we can't guarantee that it'll get to you in time.
Ooh, yeah, okay, we don't recommend that late then.
Yeah. But yeah, and I mean, even a couple of weeks before the election, I would say is ideal, just to give the ballot time to get to you, for you to fill it out, and then to send it back in.
Okay.
If folks do request an absentee ballot, so number one, you can request it by mail. Number two, you can request it in person here in the office. And if we mail a ballot out to you, you are still able to return that ballot in person here in the city office, or dropping it off at one of the drop boxes that we have. There's a drop box to the left of the sheriff's office door at 8140 Main Street. And then actually just today, a couple of hours ago, we installed a new drop box just outside of the PNC Bank front door.
PNC Bank, okay.
And that's 8123 Main Street.
And so you could do that right now if you had yours, or no, you haven't mailed them out.
We haven't mailed them out yet, but once folks do get their absentee ballots, you can return it in person, you can drop it off at a drop box, or you can mail it back.
Okay, got it. Are folks on the phone, do all of you, have you already requested your absentee ballot? And since there's just a few of you, Justin can look that up right now. Why don't we just go through the list? If you want to look up David Howard, and I'll just go through our list here, make sure everybody is signed up to have them coming. I do have a question here.
Sure.
Okay, so question on our chat box. Where can we get a copy of a ballot if we are planning to vote in person?
So if you are planning to vote in person and you want a sample ballot, there are a couple of places to be able to get a sample ballot. One is through the Michigan Voter Information Center. If you type in on your computer michigan.gov/vote, that'll take you to the MVIC, and it'll ask you to put in your address, and it'll print off a sample ballot for you. You won't be able to cast that ballot, but it'll show you what is on the ballot.
Okay.
The other option is, once we actually physically have the ballots here in the office, we also get sample ballot copies, and usually they're yellow and say sample all over the front of them. And folks are welcome to come into the office and pick up a sample ballot here as well.
Okay. If someone is stopping in your office, do you have any protocols in place that we should know about? Like, do they need to make an appointment? Is there a limited number of folks allowed in the office? Do you have anything going on like that?
So really the only thing is we ask that folks wear a mask. We are here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Folks don't have to make an appointment to come in, but we do ask that folks wear a mask.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I think we answered that for Penny. Yeah, let's go ahead and make sure these folks have ballots coming, because I didn't hear any objection to that. So if you want to look up a David Howard.
We do have an absentee ballot application form for him.
So that's all he needs right now, right?
Correct.
Okay, how about a Marjorie Becker, Becker?
She is all set to receive an absentee ballot.
Perfect. Penny sounds like is going in person. How about a Stevens with a V, first name Suzanne?
She is set to receive an absentee ballot.
Perfect. And then I believe we have Colon, Colon, would be Lois.
and she is set to receive an absentee ballot.
Okay. All right. So folks that are doing that should be pretty well squared away to receive the ballot in the mail, and they know now where they can drop it off in person or in a drop box.
Mm-hmm.
Do you tell them a deadline at all of when is the last day they should mail it back, or that's a little scary right now?
Yeah, we tend not to put those sorts of hard deadlines on things, especially when it isn't codified in law. It's more how the voter feels about mailing their ballot. If they believe that if they put it in the if they put it in the mail that it'll get to us in a week,
Yeah.
then that's their call.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and it sounds like you've got plenty of spaces to just drop that off quickly. So a resident here is probably not registered in Dexter yet, from what I'm gathering. This person has never voted in Dexter. What are the requirements, and where does she go to vote?
So if someone isn't registered to vote here in the city of Dexter, but they are a Michigan resident, or they were a Michigan resident prior to moving to the city of Dexter, they can come here to the city office, and we can update their voter registration by having them fill out a form here.
Okay, she is registered. Update.
Oh, okay. Well, just to kind of complete that thought,
Sure.
say someone moves into the Cedars from somewhere else in Michigan, they still have a valid driver's license or state ID, but the only thing that's missing is the transfer of their registration. They can come here to the city office. We'll have them fill out a form, and we can update their voter registration here in the office, and the Secretary of State's office will automatically send a sticker for the back of their license.
Okay.
If someone's license is out of date, or if they have a license from another state, we're not able to issue new licenses or update licenses for those folks.
Okay, that would be a Secretary of State function.
That would be a Secretary of State function, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so where does someone from the Cedars go to vote?
Sure. Folks in the Cedars are in precinct 3, and they go to the Dexter Senior Center to vote in person.
Do you know that website off the top of your head?
For
the Senior Center? Or
Oh.
address, did I say?
Yeah. So sorry. The address is 7720 Ann Arbor Street.
Okay. And this is just all for notes that I'll send out for folks. And I have a question here. Repeat the website for the sample ballot again. So I'll put that in our notes, and I can put even the link to that. So I'll be sure to get that in the notes, Marge.
Sure. It's michigan.gov/vote.
Perfect. Okay. Let me see. I think I have a hand raised here. Mr. Howard, if you want to unmute and ask a question. Maybe we answered his question already. Dave, if you have a question, you are still muted.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Hi, Dave.
Hi. You said you have an application for me for absentee ballot. What about Mary Ann?
Sure. Let me take a look. I have an application from Mary Ann as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, great. I think we have gotten to all the hand raisers here, and we're up to date on the Q&A. Do you want to talk a little bit, Justin, about voting during COVID and kind of the setup, and will people feel safe, and can we be distanced and all of that?
Sure. So we've had an election in the time of COVID with August. So we've been through it once, and all of my election inspectors and the folks that they talked to who came in to vote in person all indicated that they felt safe in doing so. So at each of the precincts, we have PPE stations, which includes hand sanitizer, gloves, masks, all of your traditional PPE fare.
So you are giving those out, is that what you're saying?
Those are for voters to use
Okay.
as they come in. And obviously the masks and gloves aren't shared; those are disposable. So once a voter takes those, they're able to take them with them or dispose of them.
Okay.
But at each of the stations where a voter would interact with an election inspector, we have clear screens, like you would see at a bank or maybe some of the other places that you've been to. They have the clear dividers. And then also all of our election inspectors are wearing masks and some combination of mask and or shield, face shield.
Okay.
So, as the election inspectors, process voters, they're sanitizing their hands, they're wiping stations down, they're sanitizing pens. So we have cups for unsanitized and sanitized pens. And we ask that voters take pens from the sanitized cup. So that way they're not using unsanitized pens. And especially with August, November still kind of remains to be seen. There really were never enough voters in the precincts to make anyone feel uncomfortable.
Okay. So with that, you didn't experience long wait times or a line, for instance, that they'd have to be spaced out appropriately?
Nope. And to date, we've had 53% of our voters submit absentee ballot application forms.
Okay.
So there's about 30 to 40% of voters who I anticipate are either still to request an absentee ballot or will show up at the polls on election day.
Yeah. Okay. And what are the hours of the polls on election day?
Sure. So the polls are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 3rd.
Do you have kind of historically peak times that maybe people would want to avoid?
Yeah. So there's always a morning rush. So there's always right at 7 a line. The length of the line depends on the election. With November general elections, usually there's a pretty good line in the morning.
Sure.
And then usually around lunchtime, kind of around that noon, 1 o'clock hour, things tend to calm down usually between 9:30 and 11:30, and then between 2 and 8.
Okay. So there's not really an after work rush then, a 5 o'clock-ish.
There doesn't seem to be. People seem to like to go before work.
Yep. Okay. Good to know. There is a question in the Q&A. Question, what date can you begin to count absentee ballots?
So as of right now, we are only able to count absentee ballots on election day. So we have what's called an absentee counting board, which is a group of election inspectors who get appointed as would the folks in the precinct. But these folks are specifically dedicated to processing and tabulating absentee ballots. They get started right at 7, as the rest of the voters would be able to, and they work to be complete by 8 p.m.
Wow. And you said at this time or something like that, is there talk that might be changed for you all?
There has been discussion at the state level, and there was discussion at the state level before the August election. No bills have yet been passed to any other effect. And if something should happen, we'll keep an eye on it and evaluate how that impacts us at that time. I'm thinking that even if a bill were to pass that would let us process absentee ballots prior to election day, I'm not sure that we would.
Okay.
Just for the sake of process and for the sake of ballot security.
Okay, good to know. Another question here, where are the locations where the absentee ballots are counted?
Sure. So the absentee counting board takes place up here in the city office, because the election inspectors who process the absentee ballots have to be sequestered, and any poll watchers or any ballot challengers, if they were to come into the absentee counting board, they would also have to be sequestered. So once an election inspector comes into the office and starts working on absentee ballots, they're not allowed to leave.
Okay. It looks like a question to kind of go along with that. Can an election volunteer request to count absentee ballots? Did you already?
Well, so what she's asking is if she were to sign up to be a poll worker, if she could request to be placed on the absentee counting board. We're still taking applications for folks to be poll workers, and we have had a number of people who have asked if they could be placed on the absentee counting board. I and the election commission make those appointments, and well, as with all of the other election inspectors and precincts, there are certain things that factor into how folks get appointed. So in the precincts and in the absentee counting board, you have to have a split of the major political parties. So you have to have some folks who are Republican and some who are Democrat. That combined with the fact that we have a limited number of folks who are working counting absentee ballots, and we are limiting that number just due to the physical space that we have here, and also because there's only so many duties that you can assign in that process. Folks can request it, but I can't guarantee that they'll be placed on the absentee counting board is the short answer to that question.
Okay. Yeah, just a follow-up since we're talking about volunteering. So you are still in need of volunteers for poll workers?
So we are still taking applications. I have not yet heard back from my regular contingent of election inspectors, at least not all of them. So I am taking applications just in case that we need folks, but I can't guarantee placement if we receive new applications.
Oh, okay. Point. All right. We have a person that joined us a little bit late, and maybe we could just see if they are on the absentee ballot list. They are two individuals, last name of Shuey, SCHEWE, And it should be Stephen and Nancy.
We have received applications from both of them.
All right, that's great. And Steve, I know you hopped on a little bit later, or maybe it's Nancy. I don't know who's behind the computer, but now's a good time for any questions. You can always raise your hand and I'll call on you to speak, or you can use the Q&A function, which seems to have been working well. Is there anything right now, Justin, that you think might be good for any voter to know? You know, not
Sure.
just someone in our population or our little neighborhood, but.
Sure. You know, like I said, we're open 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Once we receive the absentee ballots, that we're planning to mail them out the week of September 21st. Once that first batch of mailings goes out, folks who have not yet requested an absentee ballot may come in to the office and we can issue ballots over the counter. We are also going to be open Saturday, October 31st, Halloween, from 9 to 5 to process absentee ballot requests. And then again, folks can come in the Monday before the election between 9 and 4 and get an absentee ballot. And if they do that, if they come in that Monday, they will have to vote it here at the city office. We already talked about drop boxes and sample ballots. If folks mail back their absentee ballot, they are able to check to see that it's been received by going to the michigan.gov/vote website. And it's not going to be instantaneous, but usually if you check the next day after you think that we likely received it. So, you know, if you mail it on a Tuesday and you check it the following week, just to make sure that we have received it. Folks can also call. They can call the city office and make sure that their ballot has been received. Or they can send me an email. And if everyone has a pen and paper, I'll give you my email address.
Yeah, why don't you give us a few things? If you can give us your email, the city office phone number, and address would be great.
Sure. So my email address is jbreyer@dexter.mi.gov. The office phone number is 734-426-8303. And then the city office address is 8123 Main Street. And we are on the second floor of the PNC Bank. But we do also, as of today, have a new drop box that is out front of the PNC Bank.
Question about those drop boxes too, because I know you said you could check to see if your ballot was received. Is that to say that the drop boxes are checked daily and emptied daily?
We do check the drop boxes daily.
Okay.
Yeah. And usually we are processing any ballot that we receive either in the mail or via the drop box within 24 hours.
Okay. All right, that's great info. We picked up a new attendee here. This is perhaps the Albrights. So this is a good time now. If you have a question, go ahead and submit it to the question and answer board, or I will go ahead and call on you if you have specific questions. For anyone that has hopped on a little bit late, I will send out some general notes, as well as a link to this video on YouTube that might be helpful for people too. So if you're just logging on and are wondering if you missed something, don't worry, we'll make sure you have access to this and some some of the pertinent information will be sent out as well. I'm not getting anything in the Q&A. Does anyone have any questions to ask live? I'd be happy to call if you raise your hand. It's probably on the right side of your screen. I do have a question coming in the chat box. Aha, the Wintons, that's who that is. Okay, Justin, can you please check if the Wintons, W-I-N-T-O-N, it should be Pat and Elaine. Can you see if they have an absentee ballot or even if they're registered in Dexter? They might be wondering.
So I do have both of them as being registered.
Okay. Pat and Elaine are registered. How about an absentee ballot?
I have received an application for them,
Application.
for both.
Okay. Okay, that is great. Pat, I'm sorry about that. Since you're joining late, do you have any other specific questions we might want to answer? You'll have information of where you can drop off your absentee ballots once you receive them and have filled it out. I will send out notes for that. Any specific questions right now? Is there anything else you think we should cover, Justin?
I think we covered just about everything that I had bullet pointed for us.
Okay.
But again, you know, we're open 9 to 5. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call, shoot me an email, stop up and visit us. We're here if you need us.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been very helpful, and it will be helpful to send out via notes too. And I thank you so much for your time, Justin, and hopefully we will see you again soon, whether it's virtually or in the office or whatever that may be.
That sounds good. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Justin, and bye, everyone.